Hello, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Daily, presented to you by FanArch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, author of The Voices of Hockey, Broadcasters Reflect on the Fastest Game on Earth, which I will say is available on Audible and on Apple Books in audio format. So check it out, new edition. Basically 65 play-by-play broadcasters, a lot of new material that wasn't in the original, and we're talking 4 different teams have won the Stanley Cup since the original edition came out, so there's that to talk about. And there's 2 new teams that weren't in there when it came out either. The Kraken and the Golden Knights are now part of the book. 65 broadcasters, 12 hours of hockey insanity, and first-hand experiences going back 60 years in the NHL. And also, those are the first-hand experiences. We're going back all the way in the NHL in some comprehensive little recaps of the teams and their respective history. But that's my plug. I'm coming to you from the southwest corner of Washington State, 2,454 miles from Little Caesars Arena. Now, hockey is going to be calling it a night, Thursday night, for 2.5 weeks. And so it's going to be the U.S., and Germany and Canada and everyone representing in the Olympics. And it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. I want you to know, folks, please subscribe to this channel because I will continue to give shows every day, Monday through Friday, because I plan on giving updates daily on the Olympics and who's doing what, not just what teams are doing what and who they're beating and if people are getting closer and closer to the medal rounds and things like that, but we'll be keeping an eye on who's doing the best, who is scoring the most, who's got the most goals and assists and points, leaderboard. Maybe it's not going to be somebody like McKinnon or McDavid or Celebrini, or everybody on Team Canada that we basically expect to be in the gold medal game. We just kind of figure, let's just basically have that in our bracket right now so that we can just save some ink and then just see who shows up against them. But it'll be interesting to see who does what, because maybe the person who scores the most may not even be in the medal rounds, basically. They just might be blowing everybody out in those first, preliminary and all those games. But I will be giving updates, so please subscribe to this channel if you want to be kept abreast of everything that's going on. Now back to the NHL, back to the Red Wings. I am going to say that I am pretty disappointed in what I saw on Saturday. So disappointed I may bust into the musical. That's right, the Music Man. We got trouble right here in Motor City. That starts with a capital T and that rhymes with D, and that stands for defense. Where was the defense on Saturday? I watched so many times the puck deep in our own zone and these just flippant, lazy, just casual movements with the stick, moving the puck, and it getting intercepted immediately and us off guard, and players like Nathan MacKinnon. Folks, if it weren't for Connor McDavid, I would say Nathan MacKinnon he's having the best season of anybody already. Obviously Connor McDavid, we all see him as the pinnacle of players right now, but MacKinnon, he is right there with him, and this season he is a little bit in front of McDavid. The two mix, and they're both going to be representing Canada, so that's another reason why I say just chalk them up to the gold medal game right now. But MacKinnon scored 2 goals against us, and it wasn't like he had to work that hard for them. We got a big hole in our defense right now. We definitely got something pretty exposed with Eds being hurt and being out for all these games with his lower body injury. I was basically talking about Hamonic during last week's, basically not liking what I was seeing out of him, him not getting the right positioning and them taking advantage, and basically him not being a presence to help out Gibby around the front of the net, him being tied up behind the net and Gibby just kind of still not knowing what's going on. You can tell Gibby is a little discombobulated right now in as far as the communication that's going on behind him and his vision and awareness of the puck as players are transitioning and they're beating him. That kind of stuff doesn't really happen as much when you have more solid players and more solid and stout defense going up and checking them and getting the puck up the ice where it needs to be. We didn't spend nearly as much time up the ice as we should have, and it showed. 5 goals against us. We got shut out. We were 2 for 2 on the penalty kill, 0 for 2 on the power play, but we were 0 for the rest of the game in everything that counted. And so that's why I say I've been hinting at, the trade market and everything like that. And there's going to be a trade freeze pretty soon here before the Olympics happen. And I have a fear that the Red Wings aren't going to do what they need to do before that trade freeze happens. And I hope they can get the Dougie Hamilton. We're going to call him the Dougie. No, I'm hoping they can get Dougie Hamilton or Justin Falk. I don't know. I think Hamilton might be a little bit higher of a price tag, so we may be going over Falk. But hey, possibly we get both of them, right? Probably not, but still, looking at our defense. Okay, let's basically put aside the ones that are the obvious staying put, not going anywhere. Mo is obviously not going anywhere. Not only is he one of the best defenders in the league, we already signed him to an extension. Same time we signed Raymond, basically, and so he's not going anywhere, and we don't want him to go anywhere, right? We just signed a pretty long extension to Benny too, so Benny ain't going anywhere either. And Eds is hurt, which, I don't want Eds to go anywhere because when he's healthy, he is very instrumental. But that starts to leave some of the other defenders. Axel, obviously rookie. We don't want. I don't know what to say about that. His plus or minus is minus 18 right now, though. So that's what I will say about it. I like the guy. I like youth. I like future looks for our team. But like I said, minus 18, that's something that's hard to get around, okay? But regardless, I'll keep going down the list. And Aljo and J-Doc, I kind of wonder what is going on with them. I mean, I was trying to give Hamonic a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because I saw how much grit he had when I was down there at that morning skate up in Seattle, and just seeing how much heart he had in it and was just smile on his face and just still plugging away at it, even though he really didn't have a chance of playing in that game that night. But man, his actions a little behind the net, just his play, obviously getting Gibby in trouble. He's one of those, I'm saying how we're getting ourselves caught off guard and off away from the puck deep in our own zone, and these other teams are capitalizing on it and getting the quicker shots against Gibby, and he's already, disillusioned right now what's going on around him. His peripherals are a little off. So, all right, there's my plug against Aljo. There's my plug against J-Doc, and sort of my plug against Axel. I think those are three players that, I don't know if I'm going to be crying if we have somebody else coming in for them defensive-wise. Hamonic probably already got cut or whatever you call it, dismissed to, assigned back to AHL. But Gustafsson came in and played in his place on Saturday. Not to say that Gustafsson did too bad a job. This was only his second game of the season. It's not good timing for him, though, either, because the two games he's played against us are the two games we've gotten beat. So maybe he's messing up a little bit, too. Maybe he's not getting the good stick on the puck and getting it up the ice like he needs to, or doing the right checks that need to happen. We'll get into Gus in a little bit. He's part of our spotlight. So back to the action as far as Detroit, Colorado. I didn't expect Detroit to win necessarily against Colorado. And that's why I was hoping for a win against LA and a win against Washington. We didn't get out of either of those. We got one out of a possible 4 points out of those two games, with Colorado looming, and now a road game against Colorado looming. So obviously getting 1 out of 6 on that 3-game homestand, disappointment. I know a lot of people are sounding some bells right now and saying, here we go, it's the superstition about them. Maybe talk a little smack about the team and things will turn around because they're the right kind of jinx when it comes to that. I don't know. But that was a loss that I didn't like watching. I always hate it when we lose to Colorado. And that leads to this segment, which is what feud? Yeah, that's right. The blood feud, what feud? Because we've gone from playing them 4 and 3 times to now just playing them twice. We haven't been in the same conference as them in about 12 or 13 years now. But that still doesn't mean that they aren't capable of having some, stats against us that really just make my skin crawl even more. So we are basically against them. This was our 4th straight loss to them. The last time that we beat Colorado was in overtime on February 22nd, 2024. That was around the time when Kaner was having his homecoming to Chicago and he won it in overtime. So, we had a couple of really high points in that 23-24 season, and then we went on I think it was losing 8 out of 9 or something like that, just 7 in a row. Really awful spell for us that really kicked us out of that playoff spot, and we lost it on the very last day of the season. But so we've lost 4 straight since that overtime victory in 2024. Well, that was our only win out of the last 15 since the 2017-2018 season. We're 1-14 in our last 15 games against Colorado. I hate the sound of that. I have always said on this show how much I just love that rivalry. The blood feud, I say, is the greatest major sports rivalry of the last 50 years. From 96 to about 2002 or 2003-ish. The way that those teams went up against each other, and the fact, and the Red Wings still have the season, the series lead historically. They still, as bad as they've done, 1-14 in the last 15, they still, are toe to toe with them, if in fact leading them all time in the series. So Colorado's had a chance, albeit two little games at a time each year. They've had a chance to kind of climb back into it to make it a more even match, but even match nothing. I mean, we're 1-14 in the last 15. So, we're going up against them again tonight, hopefully making it 2 out of 16 against them before we have to call it a year for another season against those guys. Gibby's goals against average has shifted. He's lost 3 straight since winning 8 straight. And a little bit of stats. Red Wings are 14-8-4 on the road. The Avs are 22-4 at home. So I will say this, especially with the game being in Denver, there will be chance of Red Wings suck. That's just something you can't avoid. In the voices of hockey, Mike Haynes, who's retired now, was the one of the voices of the Avalanche. He said, every time the fans get a little restless and there's a little boredom going on, they'll start yelling Red Wings suck. And I don't want them yelling Red Wings suck at our expense and us losing. Those Red Wings sucks chants were happening when the Red Wings were winning. So it's a little bit more salt in the wind when it happens the other way. So expect that, but hoping for a W. Sometimes the W's come in the least expected ways, and I'm hoping that that's going to be the case over these next 2 games before the Olympic break. So maybe we can put a little bit more blood into the feud, and maybe even have a little moment for Tantrum Tuesday. So just a couple of little quick things for Milestone Monday, kind of trailing away from the Red Wings for just a brief moment. I noticed a few benchmarks that have been happening or about to happen. Erik Karlsson got his 700th assist last week. Congratulations to him. Obviously, the Pirate has been an effective player. He's moved around a few teams now. He brought the Ottawa Senators basically within a goal of making it to the Stanley Cup final back in 2017. And then from that moment on, they lose the game, lose double overtime game 7, and they basically start a rebuild that very next season. You're thinking, you're 1 goal from the Stanley Cup final and you're going to do a rebuild. Still scratching their heads. Finally made it back to the playoffs for the first time last year. We're not even talking about the Senators right now when we're talking about Karlsson. He doesn't even play for them anymore. So I'm just kind of hinting a little bit of what he was able to do, playing on 1 bad leg throughout that 3-round run that they had there in 2017. So congratulations to you on 700 assists. Pasternak, tomorrow show we'll do Tantrum Tuesday. We'll talk a lot about the Winter Classic that took place in Tampa Bay at Raymond James Stadium yesterday. But what a game. And just speaking of that, Pasternak was the losing shooter on the final shot of the shootout, the one that did not go, hit the bar, didn't get it by Vasilevsky. But Pasternak has managed to get 900 points. In this last week, he reached point number 900. I believe he's been playing 10 seasons. He has a 60-goal score that season when they won 65 games. It was just a magical Bruins team whose magic ran out a lot sooner than they hoped it would. Well, I guess they hoped it wouldn't run out and that they'd win the cup, but it ran. Their steam, their train came to its final stop three series before they had hoped. So those are two of those benchmarks. And then Nathan MacKinnon, we may see this tonight. He's on the cusp of 700 assists. So he's been scoring goals against us. So we didn't see any assists on Saturday because he was scoring. But I'm going to say I hope that you don't get assist number 700 tonight, MacKinnon. I'm hoping that you don't get any points tonight and that your team doesn't get any points. And maybe we can beat you in your building. That's to, we'll save that benchmark for the next team that comes around. So hopefully it's not us. Anyway, the other one, though, is Ken Holland, former GM. Obviously, the one of the faces of our dynasty of the mid '90s to the early 2000s, and then beyond. He is 2 wins shy of tying Henry Sinden for basically games won as a GM. 925 of his 1,168 wins were as up in the corporate offices, up in the corporate suites for the Red Wings. Since then he's gone to Edmonton and now with the Kings, trying to turn the Kings around a little bit. So congratulations are going to be in order pretty soon here for Ken. Obviously such a valued and integral part of the Red Wings' success and building that team that was just such a dominant factor for years on end. It's a little bit harder of a game for him, I'm sure, with the salary cap coming into effect. When you're able to GM a team without any borders or boundaries and no salary cap, it's a whole different world when you're trying to do one with it. So congratulations on continuing to win, and we'll see when you get those 2 and then 3 to pass them. So those are basically the milestones that we can be looking for, and that are also the ones that have already taken place. I said that we would talk just a little bit about Gus in the spotlight, and basically, obviously, we're in a little situation here. Things aren't working out in certain defensive players. Eds is obviously taking a little bit longer on the IR. I think they actually had to put him on the IR. We didn't think it would be a stint like that, but now it obviously has to be. And this may be to our advantage, having the Olympic break. So that's probably why they put him on the IR, realizing that he's not going to be healthy by these last 6 games, basically 2 games left to go. So in the meantime, you got players like Gustafsson who they brought up to basically kind of help out the D right now because the D is lacking. And I don't know. I don't have enough of a sample, for Gustafsson to say yay or nay on how he's doing. But I know he's played 10 seasons and he's only scored 240 points. He's played with 6 different teams and 2 stints with the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, I only bring that up because you see the chemistry that Kane and DeBrincat have, because players on the Blackhawks for as many years as they were, and also player on the Red Wings for these last 3 seasons. You see the way they're able to connect, you see the chemistry they have. That's the only reason I'm bringing up that as far as Gus goes, because I know he had 2 stints with the Blackhawks. That's the only team he's played 2 different times with. He also played with, I believe, Montreal, and several other ones. So, like I said, though, he only played a 2nd game of the season against Colorado. It's a little unfair, but 2 games that he's played, 2 pretty much blowout losses for the Red Wings. At home, mind you, at home. Definitely not something that bodes too well for you, because you're going to have the boo birds coming out. I know that boo birds aren't just in baseball. They're in hockey and all the other major sports when you're at a home game and they don't like what they see. And I know they were booing a lot yesterday, or not yesterday, but on Saturday. They were booing a lot because they did not like the final product of that game, a 5-0 loss. So I'm a little hopeful that we'll figure it out. I'm a little hopeful that Gustafsson, if he's in there for just the next 2 games, that it'll be enough to figure something out, what we're going to do, what moves we're going to make. I know we need to make a move for a defenseman. I don't think that Yzerman's going to stay his hand on this one. I think he's going to pull a trigger. And who we get, If we get an more offensive player like Dougie, Dougie's capable of doing it. And I think Justin Falk is able to be offensive too. So we'll just have to see. Tomorrow we'll have a little recap of tonight's game against Colorado. We'll see if it's just as much of a disaster as Saturday was. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully we get 2 points out of this. I would be satisfied with 1, honestly, but I really hope for 2, and I'm kind of expecting 0 until our defense can find something to do, some way to figure out how to keep the puck out of the deep end of our zone more than 5 seconds. So until then, this has been a very pessimistic Kirk MckNight and Red Wings Daily, but hang in there, folks. I think that we definitely still have a solid team. It's just we got exposed playing against an even more solid team. I don't want to be a hater. I think that the way that McClellan has been leading the charge right now has been remarkable. I think he's doing a great job. I just think that the defense right now has become completely hollowed out and exposed for what it is, and it's not deep enough. I'm hoping for a deeper D here. Defense. Yep, there we go. So until then, this has been Red Wings Daily, LGRW from the PNW.